economy is still being destroyed, and that the president of the United States is still sitting on that couch, farting and lying at the same time.
We have the best economy we've ever had. We have the best stock market we've ever had. In other words, what we've created is so strong. We have $17 trillion going to be invested in this country. Think of it. They didn't have, they had nothing. They had people leaving our country. We have the greatest boon in the history, and that's why the stock market went up 700 points yesterday.
Inflation is down.
Inflation's down. Well, I have low inflation.
Yeah.
He had the highest inflation in history.
Up to 9, yeah.
No, he had really, in many things, 18, 19, 20%. He had the worst inflation in the history of our country. And we have almost no inflation anymore. And if you look at energy, energy is so big, it brings everything down. But if you look at energy, the energy costs are way down. We've done a great job, despite the fact that we should have lower interest rates. Now, we have two things. We've been successful because of the tariffs. It's given us a great power to negotiate with other countries that took advantage of us. Tremendous power. Also, it's brought in trillions of dollars into our country. We have a big case brought by foreign governments because the foreign governments have been ripping us off for years, and it's now in the Supreme Court. That case is really important to win because it's made us a rich country. It's made us a rich country.
Somehow the economy is booming. We're in a golden age. We got $17 trillion that you haven't seen a cent of. But somehow we got $17 trillion that's flowing in, and we need interest rates to drop. Did you guys know that inflation is down, as Lawrence said? Except even Donald Trump couldn't piggyback off of that blatant lie. Here, in case you need someone else to tell you.
Many big retailers like Walmart, Macy's, and Home Depot have acknowledged price increases due to tariffs, but they are all working, they say, to keep prices low where they can. And today's inflation report is one of the most important when it comes to what the Federal Reserve does with interest rates next week. It can impact everything from what you pay for your car loans, your credit card APRs, and even mortgages. And when you take inflation coupled with the latest weaker than expected jobs data, the market believes that the Federal Reserve almost certainly will cut interest rates next week. That means very likely lower cost of your car loans, lower cost of your credit card APRs, and potentially also mortgage rates for people who want to get a new home.
They're literally going to sell the fact that they're going to drop interest rates because of the economy to say, look, you're getting lower interest rates as you also don't have any jobs. So think of it this way. At least your interest rates on the car that you can't afford because you lost your job and you can't find another one, at least the interest rates are low. Oh, by the way, that whole inflation thing? Wow. Hey, check that. This is weird. Inflation climbed in August as his tariffs intensified. That's the reality when Donald Trump said that the tariffs are helping this situation. That's when Donald Trump said that inflation isn't going anywhere, except that the reality, likes to argue with his lies. Consumer prices rose 2.9% in August compared to a year ago, marking an uptick in price increases. Here, uptick means up, and then price increases means up as well, as Trump's tariff policy intensified. The reading matched economists' expectations. The fresh inflation data indicated an acceleration. That's another thing that goes up from a 2.7% inflation rate recorded in the prior month, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, that place they're looking to clean house of. Price increases remain below the 3% rate recorded in January, the month that Trump took office. But, we're in a golden age. We got $17 trillion coming in. Here's some other information that, he doesn't want you to read. Now, egg prices, a longtime symbol of rising costs, were flat in the month of August. Great. Still, the price of eggs stands nearly 11% higher than where it was a year ago when they were, campaigning on that. The price of coffee has surged 20% over the past year. Housing costs jumped 0.4% in August, which accounted for the largest share of the overall hike in prices. Food prices rose 0.5% last month, while energy costs climbed 0.7% is what the data showed. I'm not sure if you heard all the lies. He was spitting them out so fast. He mentioned how energy costs are dropping, how food costs are dropping, how housing costs are dropping, when in reality, all those things are not happening. So overall, how about this last slide? In all, prices climbed 0.4% from July to August, which marked the largest monthly increase. Why do we believe liars? Every day he lies. He lies about everything. Hey, guess what? Later today, if he says something else, he's going to be lying then too. Do you know why? I know that because all he does is lie. How about we preemptively stop believing his lies? It's not being polite to just listen to someone lie to you if those lies then affect your life if you support their lies. But he had more to say.
We've become a rich country. Remember 2 months ago, they said, we found $29 billion, a lot of money. We found, but peanuts compared to that, but they found $29 billion, sir. We don't know where it is. I said, where did it come from? They said, we just don't know. I said, check the tariff shelf. I call it the tariff shelf because the money is so ridiculous. It's enormous. They called me up the next morning. Sir, you're right. It came in from additional tariffs. $29 billion. We're a rich, powerful country.
You hear that bullshit? Do you hear that? Donald Trump first told you we got $17 trillion coming in. Part of what they what added to that $17 trillion was he spoke to they. Who's they? What are the names? Who are the people that you spoke to? When the guy walked up to you and said, sir, if you don't remember, that's the first tell for the next lie that's coming. Sir, we can't find the billions. And he said, you know what? Check the tariff shelf. Maybe you haven't looked into the tariff shelf because, I have to sell tariffs like a used car salesman. Check the tariff shelf, unnamed official. And then you know what they did? They came back and they said, wow, Mr. Trump, you know what we found? We found $29 billion that we just couldn't find. And these three idiots sat on that couch with that's a true story, Donald, because we lost $29 billion that we couldn't figure out where it was until they went over to the shelf and opened it up and checked it and found gobs of money falling out. Are we going to keep listening to people tell us these stories? But Howard Lucknick goes on TV and does the same thing.
So now everybody knows their tariff, right? So now you're going to see factories get built in America at a scale that you have never seen before. Okay, more than $10 trillion of factory build coming. All right, and so there's huge amount of construction jobs. So I would say the first quarter of next year will be the best quarter of construction jobs this country's ever seen. And that's going to roll all the way through 26. So I think you're going to see GDP growth next year over 4%.
You do, 4%. 10 trillion over what period of time, Secretary?
Mr. Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, during his term.
I want you guys to pay attention to these timeline answers that they give. That was the most basic follow-up question. When? Remember I said, ask anybody who's lying to you or who believes any things that they're saying. Just ask them those questions. Really, what, when, where, why, what, how? How are these things going to happen? We learned that in like 3rd grade, bro. Ask them these questions. And the answer ends up being next year, during Trump's term. And then imagine whether or not that has any kind of financial planning for anyone who's responsible with anything that they've been planning for business, just their life, their income, their jobs. At some point, that's not an answer.
The great, big, beautiful bill that has tax cuts for the middle class. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. You work overtime.
We haven't felt that yet.
You're going to feel it really big. I'll tell you, the biggest thing right now, we have to win the Supreme Court case. If we win that case, this country is a rocket ship like no other country ever in the history of our world.
We haven't felt it yet, sir. You see him pause? He didn't know it. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel it, Brian. And then they move right on. When, bro? When? It's going to take off like a rocket ship. Did you guys know that we're in the golden age right now? That he's brought in $17 trillion that he keeps talking about? How are we going to be a rocket ship next year if we've got 17 trillion right now with 29 billion falling off the tariff shelf that we couldn't find? Doesn't that sound like a rocket ship already? When is the rocket ship is next year, but it's also right now. Which one is it? God, we're so stupid. We're so stupid.
August job numbers weren't good, 22,000. What do you make of that?
Our economy, the Donald Trump economy, is coming in the beginning of next year. You have to think he's got more than $10 trillion of factories. When those factories get in the ground, they get the permits and the bulldozers start, people are operating those bulldozers, jobs. You're going to be filling to be a construction worker in America, you're going to be good looking because everybody's going to try to hire you. Those construction workers are jobs, jobs, jobs. And then when those factories come online, you're going to see 3% GDP growth the rest of this year. And then my look is I think we grow to 4%. You got the $30 trillion U.S. economy growing 4%, pulling away. Finally, why was America always growing kind of like the rest of the world? Because we were exporting our power to the rest of the world. It's time for us to take care of America. That's what President Trump is doing. You're going to see our GDP growth go off the charts.
You're going to see good stuff going. They literally sound like they're selling you a jalopy.
You're going to be good looking because everybody's going to try to hire you.
Well, come check out this piece of shit, the back of the yard right here. I tell you what, you may have to kick the tires a couple times. Maybe you have to spin the engine from under the hood. But I tell you what, you're going to be smooth sailing for at least a mile and a half before this shit breaks down on you.